Let's be innovative. Let's challenge a norm. Let's raise the bar. Let's be the elite.
A new beginning, another opportunity to make a statement. Lionheart celebrates its roots with the car that started it all. 18 races to determine who is the best in the most exciting form of auto racing on the planet. 200-mile-per-hour Indy cars inches from disaster or glory. There can only be one Lionheart Speedway Series champion whose name will be etched into the Lionheart history books. The Lionheart Speedway Series presented by MOZA Racing starts now.
Last time out, Tyler Graf broke through for his first career Lionheart Racing Series victory in a thrower at Chicagoland. But as the season progresses towards its final stretch, the question marks remain. Which drivers can perform for the championship? Which drivers can perform to be able to get themselves to HyperX victory lane? And which drivers can make a late season splash? Let's find out as we approach that stretch. This is Twin Ring Motegi, and this is the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200. Hello everyone, and welcome to race 13 of Season 2 for the Lionheart Speedway Series presented by MOZA Racing, live on racespottv and ESTV. Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like luxury ultra-comfortable cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. My name's Justin Pritzel. On some of the moves tonight is Andrew Kinsella with our producer Hugo Weiss for tonight's action. Live time and scoring is available thanks to our partners, along with your favorite teams and drivers, the virtual world of motorsport. Let's dive straight into our graphics esports countdown to green as we get ready for what's expected to be a challenging race, Andrew. Last time out, it was a thrower at Chicagoland. This time, could be a bit more about the patience as we approach the home stretch.
Absolutely. It's a whole different kettle of fish compared to what we had at Chicagoland. Chicagoland, it was all about the high banks, keeping up the momentum, keeping up the speed. Here, it's a completely different racetrack, egg-shaped oval that we've got here at Motegi, and it's a wide racetrack. Going to be lots of opportunities for diving down into that turn 3, turn 4 area that's so tight, but it's a unique challenge here on this schedule. But looking at the schedule right now, we're in the middle, or we're at the end of the 3-race stretch here in August, and it sets us up for quite the finish here, Justin. We've got Iowa, Charlotte, and Richmond coming up in the near future, and those are 3 equally very difficult tracks that these drivers are going to have to navigate in their chase for the championship.
Schedule brought to you by Next Level Racing. That's going to be a very stressful calendar, to say the very least, to deal with all the way to the Triple Crown double points finale at Auto Club Speedway in November. Let's take a look at your driver standings in turn, presented by Graphics Esports. Matt Taylor comes into today the points leader. It was a roller coaster. Last time out for Matt Wagner, that's dropped Wagner in turn. Down behind Joe Branch. Joe Branch now second in the points. Heights he's been throughout the campaign. Andrew Wood, Mike Rigney, your top 5. Don't forget about, how about 3 drivers covered by 10 points, 2 of them tied, 6th through 8th. From Malone, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, Shane Coogan, all tightly packed in those standings.
The feast or famine year continued at Chicagoland for Matt Wagner for sure, Justin, and he's got to find a way to turn this around rather quickly. He's quickly losing ground to Matt Taylor, and Taylor, meanwhile, is distancing himself from the trailing 2 here. And don't look now, but Andrew Wood is starting to sneak up into that conversation for that top 3 finish in the championship. The rookie doing a great job. Despite some early season woes, he has overcome that, and he is really mounting a charge here in this second half of the season.
Well-placed run for Andrew Wood got him in that position to be able to start clawing away at those points indeed. Let's take a look at how the team side of things are faring. Those brought to you by HyperX. Team Race for Sunset is leading what has now turned into a thriller of a team championship. Power Slide Motorsports, Dark Horse Racing, Synergy Motorsports Black separated by about 250 points or so entering today, Andrew.
250 points first to fourth, but look at that gap between first and second there. It's so tight this late in the season. That really just shows you the 2 teams at the top of the standings. They haven't been able to separate themselves from each other. It's been trading off one race or the other. One race Power Slide will be better. The other team Race for Sunset will be better. So it's all going to come down to consistency in these last few races for this team championship. They're going to have to get solid drives from all of their drivers if they're going to take home the team championship crown.
Pressure is on indeed for the drivers in the team standings by HyperX. Let's take a look at your rookie standing. Powered by buttkicker. Andrew Wood is the top rookie so far. Shane Coogan's keeping things a bit close though. Don't forget about Samuel Ryman, who's done a solid job consistency-wise.
Absolutely. Ryman has done a very credible job there in 3rd place. And Coogan, of course, coming off that little bit of an adventure at Chicagoland where he got turned on the front straightaway late on in that race and just wasn't really able to recover. So it's allowed Andrew Wood to open up that gap at the front. But look at how tight it is. Basically 4th down through 9th position. It's really tight. There's going to be a lot of battling, a lot of drivers coming and going, and Jacob Oster is one that is definitely starting to come on here, but it might just be too little too late for his rookie championship hopes.
Oster did have one of his best performances of the season last time out, 2nd place to Tyler Graff at Chicagoland Speedway. Let's take a look at your series details presented by GSI. As we get into the 8th year of Lionheart Race Series competition's 2nd season of this series, custom fixed setups built by Andrew Kinsella, price pool of $6,930 throughout the campaign. It's been a different kind of campaign compared to that opening run for this series where Alexis Newsom picked up the championship and Factory Back were team champions. Lots of differences though compared to how this series started off at Twin Ring Motegi last year. That brings us into our event details presented by MOZA Racing. This is the 4th time in the history of Lionheart Racing Series competition. The DW12 has raced at this circuit, track that built by Honda, pushed forward the IndyCar efforts. It took 6 years before the Lionheart Dan Weldon took Honda's first victory at Motegi back in 2004. But keep in mind for today's race, the pole position is never converted to hyperx victory lane at a track which can be very difficult to make moves on. It was Dean Mull who picked up an upset victory by staying out late last year.
And that stat there is really surprising to me there, Justin. As you say, it's a very difficult track to make moves on. And so you would think that the pole position really would have an advantage at a track like this, but not so in the Lionheart competition. Obviously, these are long races where a lot of things can happen. It's very difficult to maintain a lead throughout the whole course of an oval race like this.
Dean Mull, for reference, started 22nd that race last year, and it took a decision to stay out on old tires to hold on for the victory. Some of the drivers on new tires just didn't have enough time to claw their way through the traffic that can come up and play here at Twin Ring Motegi. That's a look at your event details presented by MOZA Racing as we approach the final 2 minutes of practice here at the circuit. That's in Japan at a facility that's been open for its own amount of time. Lots of races taking place, whether on the road course or the oval, but remember the oval was impacted and damaged during the earthquakes back in the last decade. This is not an easy track to pass at, though. That is a major staple here, and look at the track temp. That's not going to help.
Oh, it's a very hot track, but it is getting on in the afternoon here just a little bit, just after 2 p.m. in sim time, so that is going to help the track temp drop as the race wears on. It's going to get just a little bit more grip, and that's going to be helped as well by the track rubbering in as these drivers go around and around and put more rubber on the surface. But the big thing here is, I think, going to be tire management, and that comes hand in hand with that track temperature that you mentioned.
As the setup builder for the series, Andrew, what should the drivers be expecting in terms of that handling here today?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fairly tight race car that they're going to have to contend with. But the trick is the exits of turn 4 in particular. It's a very tricky exit, and we've seen in the past a certain amount of issues that can crop up on that exit at turn 4. So that's where the drivers are going to have to be paying very close attention. And then the other thing is just finding that clean air and taking away some of the aero push just by having the clean air on that front wing. This is a wide track, particularly through turns 1 and 2. If you can stay flat instead of having a lift, you're going to go a long way.
Take a look at some of the drivers try and sort themselves out for the final moments of practice. Gabe Wood, for example, just moving up to 8th in final practice. The current top driver of the standings for final practice, Trevor Malone at 27.507. Matt Taylor, Brian Beard, Tyler Graff, Tony Shallon, your top 5 in this session. Speed's pretty quick, but the separation about 0.8 of a second from first to 33rd in this final practice session. How will qualify fare out? We're about to find out in just a few moments here, Andrew.
Yeah, and this is the time where all the drivers are just sort of getting the last-minute butterflies out of the way, and it's time to get down to business here. When the qualifying goes green, all the drivers in the Lionheart know that this is when it starts to really count. This is where you need to get serious and really buckle down and figure out a way to maximize your time, because we mentioned that the pole hasn't won a race here yet, but it's always beneficial to start up near the front at a track like Motegi.
Qualifying is underway from Twin Ring Motegi. Facility open since 1997. Take a look at Tyler Graff. Graphics LC Madworks machine, the defending race winner, getting his first career Lionheart Racing Series victory last time out. But Graff taking his time before he gets on the racetrack, checking some things and potentially burning a bit of fuel. Some drivers are on the racetrack powering through immediately, such as Shane Coogan, Dakota Domain, James Watson, and several more, though, as they look to start things off up towards the top of the board. Nick DeGroot, who finished 3rd last time out, we're taking a look at him for factory backed in the 89.
Yeah, DeGroot had a really strong race at Chicagoland. Not only did he finish up near the front, but he was running up near the front for the whole race, and He mentioned in his interview that this was really the first race that Factory Backers felt like it did last season. Of course, your team champions from last year just haven't had the season that they were hoping for this year. But Nick de Groot with a really fast lap to start there. That's a 27.5 to go top, and then is only eclipsed by his teammate there, AJ Musselman.
That difference half a tenth of a second. Isaiah Dupree, the 98, also had a solid run for parts of last time out. Starting things off in the 27.6s. Creighton Carter, meanwhile, jumping into the car today. The 71 machine has had an up and down campaign. Starting off with the 27.6 as well. Musselman electing not to record a second time of note. A few others are taking their time before they hit the racetrack. It seems a lot of patience here to try and sort out when the right time it is to go here.
Yeah, and oftentimes I find that waiting in a situation like this is the right call to make, particularly as we get in the afternoon. The track temp starts to fall just a little bit over the course of a few minutes here. So just having that track temp fall down maybe half a degree, it can make a difference in a run like this when you're just right on the edge of grip.
Is dropping. Keep in mind, Jim Herrick, you're falling on board with now in the 40 machine. Herrick's had some decent qualifying runs himself throughout the campaign. Interesting if Herrick can have a good qualifying run in this one here today. Two drivers can't record qualifying times today. Gary Gonso, George Anzotto, EOL is in the field. Entering today's event, also an additional discussion point to have later on in this one. 27.5 for Jim Herrick. That's fourth best so far in the session.
A nice solid run there for Jim. You can see Ron Hacker got really, really high coming out of 4, but he puts in a really solid time. That's good for P2 on the standings right now.
Ron Hacker nearly had contact with the wall we've seen, though, coming out of turn 4. It can get a little tricky here. This is an egg-shaped racetrack when you look at it from above, with a very tight exit out of turn 4. A bit more of a sweep in 1 and 2. Hacker in.
Yeah, you could hear on board with Hacker that you have to get on the brakes actually coming into turn 3 there.
Crash.
Oh, Tyler Graff, that's your winner from last year. He will not be starting from the front of this field, though.
Just as you said, not an easy corner to exit, especially with the aero wash today in the pack.
Yeah, you can see from that shot there, it's a downhill exit out of turn 4, and you have a lot of wheel in it because you're turning so hard to try and make that tight corner. And then if you don't wind the wheel back out of it before you get down on exit, you can land on the rear tire and it just spins you right around.
Greg Forsyth trying to record himself a lap time better than a 28.2. Forsyth currently in towards the bottom of the board. Forsyth, second time around, 27.597. That's only 17th quickest. Brian Beard, 27.4 is the quickest so far. But several heavy hitters yet to record their fast times. Tony Schowen, another 5. That's mid-pack. Matt Wagner just gonna put in a run. Matt Taylor to the top of the board, nearly got into the 3s.
That was a statement lap there from Matt Taylor. He went almost half a tenth quicker than your best time so far. And Tyler Graff managing to get back going again, and he has in fact managed to set a time. He's second right now.
And just like that, qualifying has already come to a close. 35 entrants here today for Twin Ring Motegi, the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200. It's time to take a look at how they'll start today from Japan, here at this 1.49 mile oval. On the pole for the buttkicker starting grid is Matt Taylor with the 27.406 for Graphics LC Madworks, followed by Tyler Graff, his teammate with a 0.34 difference behind. Brian Beard and Matt Wagner inside the top 4. AJ Musselman, a top 5 qualifying run to start alongside Trevor Malone in row 3. Row 4 features the defending race winner from this racetrack, Dean Mall. Luis Gonzalez Nunez starts in 8th. Ron Hacker starts in 9th. Joe Hassert rounds out the top 10. Nick de Groot and Andrew Wood, your top 12. Jim Herrick 13th. Jacob Oster in 14th after his strong run last time. Wood in 15th. Tony Schowen in 16th. A first start of the season for Cody Winson, who will start 17th in the field. That's Joe Branch in 18th. 19th goes to Dakota DeMaine and Shane Coogan in 20th. Craig Forsyth, nearly 2/10 back of the pole, starts 21st, followed alongside by Creighton Carter. Then it's James Watson and Isaiah Dupree towards the bottom of the qualifying run. The last driver recorded time was Ricky Harden in this one. Jeff Hyson will start 26th amongst the first of those not setting times. Gavin Sanders and Samuel Ryman also not setting times, 27 and 28th. Hugo Gallus and Vern Hawkins III rounding out the top 30 of note. Hawkins III currently not in the paddock. Will Gibson starts 31st. Georgian Zotto will start at the back of the field with an EOL. Mike Gibson, Mike Rigney, Matthew Short round out your entrants from Japan. Drivers making their way to their cars, let's take a look at your featured onboard cameras for tonight. First, the Graphics Esports onboard camera carried tonight by Creighton Carter. Graphics Esports, world-class design from the real world to virtual. Visit graphicsEsports.com. Mike Rigney has the next level on board, Next Level Racing Machine. Take your racing to the next level. Visit nextlevelracing.com. And towards the front with the HyperX on board, it's AJ Musselman. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows. We're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. 130 laps on the board, 200 miles from Twin Marine Motegi. Andrew, your keys to victories today.
Yeah, I think it's going to be all about picking your lane through turn one. You got to find a way to have that clean air on the front of your car so you can get a good run off of turn two and down that back straightaway. And then it's being bold on the brakes and finding a way to get your car around and make some lunges into turn three. And then finally working that strategy. We've seen that the most cautions that we've had is 3 here. So knowing when to pit, knowing how to stretch your fuel, that's going to be a very important component as the run goes on here.
The other competitors all set to go for tonight's action from Japan. Competition, commitment, excitement. This is Lionheart. And this is the start of the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200. The pace car is off. The green flag is out. We're underway from Twin Ring Motegi. The clean start for Matt Taylor. He leads the first lap. Tyler Graff, Matt Wagner, Brian Beard, AJ Musselman in the top 5. Some 2x2 already starting to form as some drivers try and search for clean air already.
And it's so important to make these moves happen right now while your tires are fresh, while everyone's packed up. So you see a lot of 2 wide action here, particularly into turn 3, and you can just see how far these drivers are driving it in there. That's what you're going to have to do to make the move work.
We'll try to make some moves work already as losing ground worth noting in the 23. Take a look meanwhile. Trevor Malone trying to wrap the bottom of the racetrack. Luis Gonzalez Nunez trying to close on up in what could become a battle for 6th position. Nunez with a peak. Oh wow, up in front of them, Matt Wagner trying the outside line through 3 and 4.
And I suspect that outside line will work at a certain point, but you really have to time it incredibly well. You have to make sure you don't drive it in there too deep because there isn't that much banking up there, so you have to walk a very fine line, but it can work up there.
Musselman trying to take a peek on Brian Beard. Can't make it work so far. Beard lost a spot right from the get-go after a 1-2-3 start for Mad Works. Musselman forced to check up though in this arrow watch. Nunez is not backing off though when the traffic is already charging, looking to move up +3.
Nunez, ever the charger, he is pounding the back of AJ Musselman there. Musselman, meanwhile, I think is enjoying the fact that he started so near the front. We haven't seen him qualify that well in a long time here in the Speedway Series, but he's doing a good job just trying to maintain position here, but Nunez looking to the bottom.
Nunez arrow launches up nearly into the side of him, and there goes all the progress for Nunez. Lift off as Joe Hassert nearly took it 3 wide as well.
And that's where things get dicey when you can't exit the corner like you want, and suddenly you find your momentum checked up, and then nearly in a 3-wide situation. It can get really dicey really quick here at Motegi just because of how wide this circuit is.
As they continue to shuffle along the early going, showcasing just that difficulty to move yourself around here. And it's going to be important to make sure, pay attention to those surroundings. Nunez, you see, trying that third line. That we've seen several times work, to be able to get that run off the corner like that.
And look at just how much momentum Nunez was able to maintain up there. He went in, exited the corner side by side with Hassert. Was nearly 2 car lengths ahead by the time he got to the next corner. So it really goes to show that momentum is very, very important here at Motegi.
Monster you're keeping an eye on is on the move. Keep in mind, he's one of the few who have been able to cut through this pack so far, up 4 positions in the early going.
He had a really, really good start there, Justin. He made up a couple of positions right off the hop, and in fact has almost swapped positions with his teammate Nick DeGroot from where they started at, but he is one that is definitely looking to move up sooner rather than later through this field.
Timo, meanwhile, last year's winner at this racetrack, struggling a little bit, just continuing to getting shuffled out, clipping the apron here and there as well in the early going.
And you have to be careful not to get too discouraged if you're Dean Mall. Obviously, you were the winner here last year in the inaugural race, so you have to know that you know how to win here. So it's just a matter of not getting in too deep, not driving too hard at this stage of the run. He really just needs to figure out where the right rhythm is and get into it.
Right now, that rhythm trying to arc it right in front of Jacob Oster, currently battling for 9th position. Up the road is Gonzalez Nunez. Wants a piece of AJ Musselman, trying to pass him for the 2nd time this race.
And this time, I think Luis Gonzalez Nunez will get past past AJ Musselman, and it was a slide job at that. But meanwhile, while he was doing that, they've both lost a couple of positions. Looks like Trevor Malone and Ron Hacker have both gotten by Musselman and Nunez.
A lot of comers and goers, a lot of shakers already. All of this while Matt Taylor continues to be the Pied Piper in the midst of things. That is to be expected. Clean air, very supreme here, as we've seen throughout the years. It can be difficult to make a pass once you end up having someone getting clean air. Take, for example, Urban Grapp and Wagner, already nearly 6/10, make it fully 6/10 back.
Yeah, Matt Taylor is just enjoying that clean air up front, and you saw Wagner there. He was looking to the inside of Tyler Graff into turn 1, but Tyler Graff said no way, and it was a face full of aero wash for that 3-car of Matt Wagner. But this is the type of race that Matt Wagner needs right now, Justin. He obviously didn't have that good run last time out at Chicagoland, but being in the top 3 this early, this bodes well for that number 3 driver. He's just, the problem for him is, of course, that our championship leader is also in P1.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, right? You end up having a strong run. It's hard to chip away, though, when your closest competitor or your points leader ends up being in the position right in front of you or right behind you, either way in those standings. It's almost like those career modes for the video games back in the day from the early 2000s. Shane Coogan, meanwhile, back in 18th, the rookies trying to get away from the Hornet's Nest forming behind them.
Yeah, that's Dakota DeMade and a few others right around him that were taking it almost 3 wide into that turn 1 area there. Of course, you can get away with it into 1 a lot easier than turn 3 simply because you just have so many options in terms of lines. In 3, you really have the high side and the low side, but in 1 here, it's you can go all the way up to this almost 4th lane. You can diamond it off. You can come down. You can cut down. There's all sorts of ways to get around that corner, which is part of the charm of Motegi, Justin, is that all you're trying to do through turn 1 and 2 is just set yourself up for this back straightaway.
Once he's battling back here, this is Dupree. Dupree is up 4 positions himself in this race, just trying to find a way around Jim Herrick. Battling it out with the newcomer for today, an independent for this series, Cody Wenson. Wenson amongst those who work their way through the practice sessions to be able to make themselves in this field today.
Absolutely. Wenson, of course, has been in a few Lionheart races before, but none in the Speedway Series. This is his season debut here, and he's doing a good job out there. just keeping himself nice and clean there. He's around 20th position, and that's really all you can ask for on your debut at this stage of the race, is just go out there, learn what everyone's doing, and then slowly pick your way through the field.
Let's take a look at Creighton Carter meanwhile. The Graphics Esports onboard camera. Lost 2 spots. And Ricky Harden battling it hard. They're currently in front of the biggest mover of the race so far, Mike Rigney, who's up 8 positions.
Rigney is another driver whose patience can really shine through at a track like Motegi. Again, it's one where you want to make bold moves, but at the same time, if the bold move fails, then a driver like Mike Rigney, who's just patiently waiting behind you, he can capitalize on that. And I think that's what you've seen so far from Rigney, is just his ability to move forward through the field and capitalize on other people's mistakes.
For example, you've been keeping an eye on the Graphics Esports onboard still with Carter. Losing time right now to Ricky Harden. Keep an eye on a potential move coming up from the 0-0 of Rigney behind. He just so happens to have the next level racing on board, and here comes the pass.
And you could see him just set that move up, and he was able to draft up off the exit of 2, and that corner exit was so important to make that move happen, and he'll comfortably slide up in front of the 71 of Creighton Carter there. So nice move there from Rigney, and he is just sort of slicing his way through the back of this field here, now looking to the inside of Ricky Harden.
2 drivers, by the way, have already pulled into the pit lane in this race so far. Jeff Hyson and Mike Gibson. Hyson had reported technical issues earlier on in this event during the grid and did hit the wall. Mike Gibson, around the same time, also had hit the wall. Those 2 drivers currently getting repairs done. The 32 still running on circuit.
And this is not a track where you want to have to make repairs to your car. This track is very aero dependent. These cars all have basically as much downforce as can possibly be thrown at the car on it in order to make them turn around this track. As you can see, the banking is not really very substantial here, so any amount of aero loss that you get at Motegi is going to be very harmful for your lap times.
There's 10 degrees of banking for reference. Nick DeGroot, he has fallen off like a brick in this race so far, Andrew. -8 so far. Caution is out. It's second place. It's Matt Wagner, and the nightmare stretch continues.
Oh my goodness, what has happened here to Matt Wagner? This is disastrous for his championship hopes, Justin.
I am not sure what to make of this, because if we get the chance to look, he just turned a hard left into the wall. Something must have broke on his VR.
Yeah, we just got word through the comms in sim, the VR shut off for Matt Wagner, so he had no idea where he was going. It's basically like driving blind and then just straight into the inside wall. So such a shame for Matt Wagner. That's going to be such a blow to his championship hopes.
I think he doesn't realize he's still stopped right in front of the whole field. Ace car driving by Wagner as there he goes for the tow. Wagner had his championship hopes take a massive hit last race. They may have just had a dagger and then some here if the last race wasn't one already. But we're about to see if we pit here, Andrew.
Yeah, there's no question that it's going to be very difficult for Matt Wagner to overcome the deficit at this point. This is going to be a potential death blow for his championship hopes. But I would expect everyone down on pit lane this time by 23 laps. Oh, we got some major carnage there in the back. It looks like Branch might have gotten some damage there from Forsyth.
Not good for Branch, second in the championship. One driver stays on the racetrack in Samuel Ryman to try and get points. A couple others overrun their pit boxes. The race off the pit lane underway with Matt Taylor trying to get himself off the jacks. Luis Gonzalez Nunez races it out with a couple others. And with the shuffling, it is Taylor, Kraft, Beard, Malone, Nunez inside the top 5 of the race. Off the way.
But the big story out of that, Justin, is what happened to second place in the championship. Joe Branch taking some massive damage, and that's dropped him down to basically the very tail end of this field. So that's 2 championship contenders for Matt Taylor, all in one caution, having their races massively affected. Of course, Wagner is done, and Branch has had his hopes severely affected.
Branch, as you mentioned, had that contact. He's had to make a wing change during this caution. Expecting Ryman to come into pit. He's trying to get himself points. It's what Ryman's done throughout the season, keep in mind. Trying to get himself bonus points for leading laps up at the front of the field. This is the contact from above.
And it's just one of those things that can happen on the pit in here. It looks like Forsyth got a little bit checked up behind. I think that might have been Gabe Wood in front of him. And then, so when he started fishtailing, Branch just had nowhere to go there.
Branch is now back in 22nd. Ryman staying on the racetrack for at least one more lap. Ryman now with his first lead lap of this event. Never quit the mantra for the sim racing broadcaster who has been for much of the season, been a contender towards the top of the standings at some parts, top 10 in the points overall. One of your top rookies, as talked about, started tonight's broadcast. But so far, so good. If you're a fan of MadWorks, though, it's 1-2-3 for the team again.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a dream start for MadWorks once Ryman gets out of their way, presumably at the end of this caution. But surprisingly, they aren't really featuring in the team championship that much at this point, Justin. But at least today, they're the team to beat.
Strom with good qualifying. Ryman peels off. Keep in mind the fuel windows are expected to be around 38 to 40 laps. This first window making it a two-stopper the rest of the ways. There goes Ryman as expected. That brings Taylor, Graf, Beard, the top three. Malone, Nunez, Ron Hacker, Mall, Oster, Musselman, Hasser. Now your top 10 as we get ready to restart this race, approaching 100 laps to go.
And the field has been shaken up just a little bit by those pit stops, as you mentioned. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here on this restart. I think we saw a frenetic pace at the start of the race when they went 2x2, but of course this is a single file restart here. So I think it's going to be a little bit more spread out than what we saw before.
See how this breaks down. Keep in mind, Isaiah Dupree amongst those who gained a significant amount of spots in the pit lane. He's now up 9 positions. He's starting 15th. Mike Regney now up 11 with some of the attrition. Of note, Will Gibson, Hugo Gallas topping off during this lap. They drop to the back. 31 cars are still running here. MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200. It'll be interesting how this is played out with Graf already trying to pump back and forth towards Taylor a bit.
Yeah, he's definitely knows that this is his opportunity here, Justin. He has to get a good restart.
Racing pace car peeling off. 104 to go. Quick launch for Taylor. Green flag is out, back on her way. Graf falls back by 5 car lanes. Beard holding on by a significant margin for third. First battle, Hacker and Nunez for the top 5.
And Nunez, it doesn't surprise me that he's the first driver to stick his nose out, but I don't think he's going to find much help out there. Hacker's going to comfortably able to keep him behind him.
Ron Hacker up inside the top 5, one of the first times today, up 4 spots. Dean Mall, remember, who was dropping back prior to the caution, picked up a few spots in the pit lane. Looks to watch and see how things break down up in front of him.
And this is going to be interesting to see what happens with Mall. How much did he learn on that first stint there? Was he able to figure out what caused his tires to maybe go off just a little bit faster than some of these other drivers? And is he going to change some of his lines up to maybe be more effective on this second stint?
Has dropped back a fair bit already, though, from Luis Gonzalez Nunez's rear wing. Nunez, keep in mind, has tucked up a couple times right behind Hacker of Norris Andrew. Just struggles with that air wash in 3 and 4. That's been his bugaboo this race.
It absolutely has, Justin, and it's going to be something that many drivers will struggle with here because it's very difficult to anticipate what the driver in front of you, what line they're going to have through the corner. Meanwhile, we've got a move here. It looks like Oster is really pressuring the back of Dean Mall here.
wants to go. Jacob Oster continues his forward progression up to 7th. And Oster continuing to back things up as Mo hits him.
That was suboptimal there, but it looks like both drivers have gotten away with it. We've got some side-by-side action just behind them as well. Schowen, Hassert, Wood, and Wood have all been mixing it up back here as Wood tries to look below Hassert here coming through turn 1.
Andrew Wood inside, outside Joe Hassert. Wood in the air spanking machine, watching in the wings for JD Esports. No move yet for Andrew Wood. Up in front of them. A change for the lead. Tyler Graff has ripped it away from Matt Taylor.
Oh, and that was so important for Tyler Graff to get that done nice and early in this stint, but he's going to have to defend himself from Matt Taylor now. Meanwhile, Trevor Malone just getting by Brian Beard for 3rd place, so that breaks up the MadWorks stranglehold on your top 3 positions.
So a change for the lead at Twin Wing Motegi. It's doable. It's not easy, though.
It was all about getting that run off of turn 2, just like we've seen so many times. It's so important to get that run coming down that back straightaway. And he was able to get that move done coming through turn 3 there. Meanwhile, the battle between Malone and Beard has not calmed down. Beard tried to get him back through 3 and 4. Malone right back around him through turns 1 and 2.
There's a look back. Remember, last restart as well. At the start of the race, should say. Malone used the second line, trying to get himself gathered back up. Gather himself up to Matt Taylor, about 5 or so car lengths back. Meanwhile, it's a party for a battle for 10. Wood still can't find his way around. Andrew Wood specifically. Gabe Wood is dropped behind Shane Coogan. Coogan trying to take advantage of all this. Nearly comes up to the wall.
Yeah, look at all that arrow wash that Shane Coogan had coming through turns 1 and 2, and that's going to open up the bottom here for Gabe Wood to come back at him, and these two drivers are not giving each other any quarter. Shane Coogan just barely hanging around on that outside. Meanwhile, it looked like we had Joe Branch nearly losing it coming off of turn 4 there.
Cody Wenson had to back out of it in the 67 on his car. Here's a look at Isaiah Dupree, who is also... You see just how smooth things are trying to be set up right now by Dupree. Gabe Wood dropping back to just about where he started in this race, now to 16th position.
Yeah, Wood hasn't been having a good time of it since that restart. He's been passed by a few drivers now, the latest being Dupree there. And he just seems to be using up his tires a little bit more than some of these other drivers, and it's really starting to show. Meanwhile, Tony Schowen has now gotten around Dean Moss.
Look at Joe Hassert now in the 11th position. Now starting to calm down a little bit. They lost themselves a decent amount of time with that shuffling. About
Racing
half a
at
second.
Motegi.
.92 laps to go here from Twin Ring Motegi. For those just tuning in, Tyler Graff, your current race leader, over Matt Taylor, Trevor Malone, Brian Beard, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, your top 5. Our rank for the one caution of the race, Matt Wagner with VR issue. 3rd in the standings, out of this race in 32nd currently. Joe Branch, by the way, who had contact in the pit entry under caution, is currently all the way back in the 23rd position, trying to get around a hornet's nest as well with Ricky Harden and company. So a lot of shuffling in this early going as we're already approaching midway through this run.
Absolutely, and oh man, a big incident here.
Upside down, it's Creighton Carter. Several times over and out of the track goes Carter. Caution flag is out.
And it's one of those things that can happen at Motegi when you have so many different lanes through a corner, just two drivers going in opposite directions come together, and Creighton Carter definitely comes off worse on the worst end of that stick.
Carter and Harden collide to bring up the second caution of the race. Gavin Sanders and a couple others also getting collected. And with 90 to go, we're back under yellow. Let's take a look.
And you can see it was just a case of two cars going in slightly different directions, and all it takes is one little touch and Creighton Carter is around.
So what do you do? Here is the question. This is at lap 41. It's still a two-stopper from here, Andrew.
I think you have to come down pit lane here, Justin. I think that while it is definitely still a two-stopper, if we get a lot more cautions, it becomes closer and closer to a one-stopper, and then even just cutting out 20 laps from your final stint, that's going to be big for a lot of these drivers. So I would expect most drivers to come down. We do have a few drivers staying out, though. It looks like Schowen and Hassert are two of them.
Taking our look, this is Craig Forsyth.
Forsyth does an excellent job to avoid that crash right in front of him. You can see just how quickly things develop here at Motegi, where the speeds are just so high coming off these corners.
6 drivers electing to stay out here. Tony Schowen, Joe Hassert, Dakota Domain, Joe Branch, Craig Forsyth, Will Gibson. Taylor, the first one off the lane, jumps ahead of Tyler Graf. Graf losing a little bit of ground in his pit box. Trevor Malone coming out third in that race off the pit lane.
The big story for me, though, Justin, is the 6 drivers who stayed out. How long will they be able to keep themselves at the front of this field? What will the tire differential do here? Here we have another view of the incident. This is on board the James Watson. You can see just how much air Creighton Carter got there, and a great avoiding action there by Watson to make sure that he got down below the line there.
Just about got underneath Creighton Carter as Carter was flipping down the back straightaway. Here, the reason Graf lost that position, by the way, Andrew, the wrong gear is what has been indicated by Graf coming off that box.
It's small details like that that can cost you races, and unfortunate that Graf had to do that at that pit stop, because he had just done so well to get around Matt Taylor and was really starting to stamp his authority on the race. But he's got another opportunity here, Justin, because they will have a number of drivers to negotiate around that are on those used tires at this point. So I think that both of them are going to have to snake their way through this traffic, and that'll present Graf with the opportunity to pass Matt Taylor back again.
Will Gibson has elected to come down this time by, so that leaves just 5 on the stay out strategy. But it's a gamble that, if played right, could be pretty critical. Keep in mind, though, 2 of the drivers, Joe Branch, Craig Forsyth, had that contact last caution and had wing changes. Forsyth both wings, Joe Branch the front wing.
That's definitely a factor here, and the question for me is just how healthy are those cars? Was there some suspension damage as well? But at the same time, if you're Forsyth, if you're Branch, you need to find some way to get yourself some track position in here. So I don't necessarily hate the call for them. The drivers that puzzle me a little bit more are Schowen and Hassert. They were fairly far up the order here, so I don't know necessarily that track position was that important for them. That being said, we are outside the window of cutting out another stop with this particular caution here, so I do understand the temptation of trying to lead this race and figuring out what happens with a strategy going forward from there.
Have you ever wanted to see an IndyCar fly? That's what Carter saw. That was at least 15-20 feet in the air.
Yeah, just a massive impact there. And I've been in a few of those over the years, and they're never very much fun when you're doing it. It's very shocking to the system, particularly as iRacing VR. It can be quite arresting when something like that happens.
Of note, Samuel Ryman, Cody Wenson, Gabe Wood topped off this time by. Lights are out on top of the iRacing pace car. 5 drivers staying out. Tony Schowen, Joe Hassert, Dakota DeMay, Joe Branch, Craig Forsyth. First one to come in, Matt Taylor, followed by Tom McGrath, Trevor Malone, Brian Beard, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, your top 10 on the racetrack. Biggest movers are towards the back corner. 11 spots for Matthew Short, 10 for George Inzondo after that EOL to start off this event. 14 for Mike Rigney back in 19. Tony Schowen getting a lot of space from that iRacing pace car, however. About 6 car lengths the difference between the pace car and Tony Schowen. Tony Schowen looking for plenty of runoff space as the green flag waves. He pumps the throttle a couple times over, keeps them at bay for the green. And a fog has started to hit the racetrack, interestingly enough. High humidity means lots of fog as this temperature drops substantially.
Yeah, we're down to 104 track temperature here, Justin, so the drivers are quickly getting more and more grip in these tires, so that will pay off for these drivers that stay out, but we've got to pass for the lead. Joe Hassert gets around Tony Schowen here.
Joe Hassert having a great restart with that launch going on green. Tony Schowen forced back to second. DeMay trying to close back up in third. Schowen looking for the ramp to close back up.
And it looks like he's going to make a move here into turn 3. He dives down Hassert, not one to particularly give up a lane easily. He sticks it out on the high side. It looks like Hassert will have the advantage coming down the front straightaway.
Still side by side, Big Joe Hassert closes the door on Tony Schowen. Battling for third and 5th behind him as well. Schowen trying the high side yet again. A little further back though. Might take another lap or so. 31 to regather it up for Power Slack Motorsports.
They're going to have to be very careful here because, don't look now, but Matt Taylor's starting to make his way through these drivers. He's up to 4th position. Craig Forsyth gets very high off of turn 4 there, Justin.
Just avoided the side part hitting the wall there. Matt Taylor, as mentioned, trying to slice his way through the drivers on older tires. The inside of DeMay can't make it work quite yet. DeMay clears on by down the backstretch.
Hey, once again, that momentum on that high side, very, very important. And Matt Taylor's going to have to regroup here. You can tell he's chomping at the bit to get through these drivers. He knows that he's got the fresher tires here. He knows he's faster.
Not close enough for the dive yet on DeMay. DeMay shuts the door up on the top side. Taylor tries to dime in the corner, though, to get the run.
And he is going to have that momentum coming off of turn 2, but DeMay has the draft, and that's going to allow him to stay in front of Matt Taylor for now. But look at how far Matt Taylor can drive that car down into the corner.
Side by side for second as well, allowing Joe Hassert to get a massive advantage up at front. Joe Branch looking for second, now on Schowen. Branch hugs the inside, clears by Schowen through 1 and 2. But the lead is up to nearly 7/10 for Joe Hassert.
Power Slide teammates were going side by side there, and now they're under pressure from Matt Taylor. Taylor takes Schowen into turn 3 and looks to take Branch as well. That's 2 for 1 for Matt Taylor.
Branch giving some space there, but that's opened up the door for the rest of the freshies to try and come on through. Here comes Tom McGrath trying to get to the bottom, having to back off. Joe Branch not making it easy on Taylor, looks for second again.
Yeah, Branch can't afford to slip too far down this order here. You can see Tyler Graff making his way beside Tony Schowen there. They're going neck and neck down the back straightaway, but I think Graff is going to have the tires to make this move happen through 3. Sure enough, he does. But you can just tell the further that the drivers on old tires get back into this field, the worse that their handling is getting.
Trevor Malone also trying to slice his way through traffic. Can't do so yet on Tony Schowen. The drivers on the fresh tires trying to beat Luis Gonzalez Nunez indeed trying to make it work on the high side.
That was a where did he come from moment. I think Malone was focused on Tony Schowen, but Nunez is working that high side, and they're about to go 3 wide off of 4 for a second.
Tony Schowen says no thank you, however. Slam the door shut. Still side by side, Malone nearly gets in the back end of Schowen. Nunez clears on by, but a big bobble for Malone.
That was some really close action there, probably a little bit tighter than Trevor Malone really wanted there, but you can see just how much challenge is struggling on those tires, and it's so apparent in turn 3 where you're relying on the tires not just to turn the car, but also to slow the car down. He just doesn't have the grip of these other drivers, and Malone just is eating up gobs and gobs of time coming into turn 3.
Jacob Oster trying to clear, nearly got clear. Malone able to hold on to the outside, however, battle for second. What could become the net race lead in the next few laps? Graf and Taylor side by side again.
Once again, Tyler Graf making that low line work on Matt Taylor. He might just have enough to get around him through turn 1, but will Taylor be able to diamond off the corner like we've seen him do a number of times? It looks like for now at least, Taylor is content to just ride here behind Graf, but what's got to be concerning for Taylor is that almost 10 laps ago, before the caution happened, he was 20 or more positions in front of Joe Branch. Now he's only 2 positions in front of Joe Branch.
Just behind him, Luis Gonzalez, Nunez, and Branch, as mentioned. Jacob Oster also closing in. Nunez has made it clear, though, if he gets a run, his car's likely going to take it 3 wide if you allow him. Trouble towards the back. Mike Rigney and several others shuffling 3 wide into turn 3.
Yeah, that was a big check up into 3, and we have Mull spinning in turn 4. Number of drivers involved. Caution is out.
James Watson involved, and that tackle for half a straightaway helps bring out caution number 3, and now bring out the strategy roulette wheel. All of that coming out after lots of calamity coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, this all started really on the exit of 2. Everybody got checked up, and then they're almost 4 wide into 4. It looks like Jim Herrick got in the back of Dean Mall there, and Watson just with nowhere to go.
So Dean Mall, the defending race winner at this racetrack, significant damage. Joe Hassert was on lap 34 of his stint. Expecting pit stops for a few drivers this time. Coming to 72 laps to go. An intriguing time for the caution, and this could be big for the 11 depending on how this swings.
Well, for all the drivers who stayed out here, Justin, this was the caution that they needed, because I think you basically have to come down pit lane here. This is the point where you know you're going to be safe on one more stop. So if you're anyone, you have to come down. So all those drivers who stayed out for track position, this is where it pays off for them.
See who peels on down. The fog really settling on in out of turn 4 for a couple of these drivers' viewpoints. And there they go. Luis Gonzalez Nunez staying out. Andrew Wood, Nick DeGroot also rolling the dice. Mostly everybody else coming in. Interestingly enough, Jim Herrick did not hit this time.
I suspect Herrick will be down a little bit later on, because he probably has at least a little bit of damage coming from that contact here. But this is the battle to keep an eye on here. Will Tyler Graf get a better launch this time? The thing about Matt Taylor and getting that pole position is he has a much cleaner launch to get over that line. It looks like Graf beats him out. Hassert, though, was very close with Graf at the line.
A great exit for Tyler Graf, just by a very edge of a front wing. Tyler Graf continuing to really flourish, I've noticed, in this car. He's made a few starts in the 88 this season in Speedway competition over the past few weeks. He's been quick this entire stretch. He's had track position this entire stretch.
It's amazing what confidence can do for your racing, and I think that this is what's happened with Tyler. Is he's gotten off to the right foot, off on the right foot in this car, and he's just riding from confidence to confidence here, and race to race. He's just carrying just a little bit more swagger with him in this car, a little bit more confidence than you see in the IR18 necessarily. So, yeah, it's been a really eye-opening experience, I think, for Graf coming down to this series and doing so well.
So these drivers coming to 71 laps to go this time around. The drivers who stay out, Luis Gonzalez, Nunez, Andrew Wood, Nick DeGroot, Jim Herrick, Will Gibson, Cody Wenson. Still an hour lap before the lights go on top of the iRacing pace car. Jim Herrick is expected potentially to come on down as he has been getting the damage checked by fellow competitors. It's going to be an intriguing restart yet again, though. Difference 15 or so laps on the tires, and as we've seen, that tire fall off, as we've seen last year towards the end, can be substantial if you get around 10 laps on them.
Absolutely, and I do think that a number of these drivers now who may have been trying to fuel save a little bit, they're going to be turning the wick all the way up to full. And I mean, starting the fresh tires off with a driver like Tyler Graff and Joe Hassert and Matt Taylor, there's going to be a lot of aggressive driving here for these top six to hold off.
This is going to be intriguing how this plays out on the restart. Good opportunity for a few hour drivers like Jacob Oster, I will say, though. I think Oster has been looking for luck, remember, in these types of scenarios, though. Last race he got it. Will it come again for the 9 car? As it looks like Jim Herrick does come in for the damage repair. That leaves 5 on the track. Get ready for the restart. 69 laps to go when we get back underway.
Yeah, and this was definitely the smart move for Herrick. He could tell he had a little bit of front wing damage here, so he's going to take service, take a front wing, and his car should be good again. And I don't think he had any suspension damage to speak of, but this is going to be a very interesting restart. Luis Gonzalez Nunez leading the field here, but we have a few drivers who haven't had much time here at the front with Wood, DeGroot, Gibson, and Wenzen. Wood, the highest he's really been throughout this race has been in that sort of 8 to 12 bracket for most of the time here. So it'll be interesting to see what these drivers do on these older tires and how long that they can hold off the charge of these fresh tires as well.
Reset your top 10 coming up to the restart. It's Nunez, Wood, DeGroot, Gibson, Wedson, Raff, Hasser, Taylor, Branch, and Oster. 29 cars are still running in this race. Main changes this caution: James Watson, Mike Rigney, Dean Mall, Jim Herrick. Look, we're approaching halfway in the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200. racespottv and ESTV. The pace car is off. It's Luis Gonzalez Nunez in control of the pack. We're back underway. Just like that, the Freshie train wants to go. Cody Wenson under attack already through 1 and 2.
Yeah, it didn't take long for Tyler Graff to look low below the newcomer and Cody Wenzen, and he is quickly getting freight trained on the outside here. Joe Branch on the new tires suddenly looking racy. Look at the move from Matt Taylor.
He wants to go in quickly. Wenson getting shuffled out and fast. Taylor having a checkup. Forced to retreat back. Here comes Joe Branch with a pass on the outside.
It's really fascinating to watch the coming and going on this restart here, Justin. 1 minute Taylor making the move, and suddenly he's shuffled back 3 positions.
Look who's coming, though. It's Andrew Wood to the inside, making the pass on Nunez for the race lead on the older tires.
The rookie points leader is living up to that title right now. He's showing what he can do at the front, but Luis Gonzalez Nunez never the one to go quiet. He has gotten right back around the 64 of Andrew Wood.
A lot of lead changes so far in this one, and approaching halfway. Luis Gonzalez Nunez back at the point, looking to pull away. Look who's holding on, though. Will Gibson, who has tried to mix it up on strategy, is being taken 3 wide with Nick DeGroot in the middle. Here come the fresh tires to the inside again.
I think Nick DeGroot was a little bit surprised by just how quickly everyone was swarming him there. He lost 3 positions in 1 straightaway there, but Tyler Graff, he is wasting no time here. He's working on Gibson and getting quickly towards the front of this field.
Extremely aggressive these drivers on fresh tires are being right now. Door slam shot once again by Will Gibson. Watch for Thor to heat up again, though, as here comes the run from Hasser. And there's the stamp being set.
Yeah, you know that Joe is never the one to leave a stamp unlicked at a track like this. He is one who's always going to try and make that move happen. And he is now the leader of this fresh tire strategy here, and he is going to want to go quickly towards the front, just as Tyler Graf was as well. There's a lot of pressure happening here between these top 4 cars.
On to the outside, Hassert this time to get the job done on Will Gibson. Tyler Graf says thank you as well to the outside. Fresh tires now looking for second. Andrew Wood tries to hold on the middle line. Onto the apron goes Hassert. Here comes Graf, battling for the net lead of the strategy. Tyler Graf takes it away for third on track.
That was inches from disaster for Joe Hassert. The one thing about having the lower banking is it's not quite as disastrous hitting that apron, but it's very, very close to disaster there. So he did a good job to keep the car pointed front ways, but meanwhile Tyler Graf has made it by Andrew Wood, and now Hassert trying to do the same.
And the draft has been broken, by the way, but Luis Gonzalez-Nunez, or was, Nunez's gap has gone down 4/10 in one straightaway.
And Luis Gonzalez-Nunez, he made a mistake coming off of turn 4 there, had to have a big lift, and that's cost him dearly. But look at all this battling that is going on back in the pack, Justin. Branch is looking below Gibson now. We have Hassert looking below Wood. Everything is kicking off here.
Andrew Wood getting assistance from some of the private label team hype drivers from IndyCar competition. Joshua Chin, Jason Brophy tonight. Have to wonder what that advice is with everybody getting aggressive around the Woodman, especially with Will Gibson as well behind him, getting attacked several times over.
Here comes Matt Taylor, but meanwhile,
new race leader. Tyler Graf zips on by Luis Gonzalez-Nunez. New race leader, it's the 88.
What a move there from Tyler Graf. He drafted Luis Gonzalez-Nunez perfectly, and it was a very aggressive but very fair move from Tyler Graf. But look at who's in third here, Justin. Where did Jacob Oster come from?
He came all the way from the mid-pack yet again tonight, and he's hungry for second. For factory back Jacob Oster, turning his season around the past couple weeks, now looking to attack for second, getting away from the Hornet's Nest that's built up in the top 10. To the outside for second.
And Oster's been making that top line work, but he just is going to have to stick it out with Luis Gonzalez-Nunez, which is always a risky affair because Luis will fight you to the bitter end, but Oster uses that high line, uses that momentum. He's well into second place now.
This run getting really racy, let's put it that way. Graf has pulled away by 6/10. Oster, last time by, was a 10th quicker, though, despite trying to pass a car. Matt Taylor is trying to pass more cars as well, though. He's just passed Andrew Wood. Now tries to set back up on Joe Hassert.
Hassert is going to be a little bit of a more difficult pass, though, as we've seen so far in this race. Particularly the fact that Hassert's on the same tires. Wood nearly gets into the wall off of turn 4.
Loses the momentum once again to this battle. There goes Taylor. Arrow wash being fed by Nunez as an air squeeze.
And it's so difficult if you're Matt Taylor to be patient right now, but you really have to be, particularly with these older tires mixed in. It's almost better if you're Taylor. Oh, that was so close.
Just about contact. Nunez with a major squeeze on Matt Taylor. Joe Hassert getting by for third. Taylor now trying the high side yet again.
Yeah, he's got to find a way to get around Luis Gonzalez-Nunez. I think he's going to try the over-under here and hopefully make that work. You can dispose of Luis Gonzalez-Nunez here, but I was going to say, if you're Matt Taylor, you really have to exercise patience here because you're not even halfway through this race. You can't afford to let yourself, you're just past halfway in this race. You can't afford to let yourself be too wrapped up in these battles. You just have to stay that patient, and it's so hard when you're battling as hard as Matt Taylor has been for these last 10, 15 laps.
Remember, this has been a track that traditionally has been very hard to pass for the race lead. So far tonight, we've already seen a grand total of 7 different leaders in this race. Most of the lead changes under green. It's been that type of a night. Dakota Domain nearly the wall, the whole front straight away with the squeeze by Dupree.
It's a game of inches sometimes in these Indy cars, and Domain had to be brave on the outside of Dupree. Dupree slides up in front of him here, though. It's a hornet's nest that all these drivers are navigating here, and this is where it really gets interesting at a track like Motegi's. There's so many different lines. There's so many people coming in and going. You have to be on top of your game, but not only just on top of your game, but on top of what everyone else is doing around you to figure out what the best move is at any given point.
Nunez, Wood and company expecting pit stops for them within the next 10 laps or so. Keep track of that as we approach the final pit stop window in this race. Who's going to get it is the major question. The top four have broken away from drivers in the midst of hornet's nests such as this one.
And the interesting thing for me will be exactly when those drivers who stayed out come down pit lane. You were mentioning strategy. We know that certain drivers or everyone who pitted last time can make it. Will the other drivers be able to make it? But right now we're looking at George Anzalo. He's having a really solid race from his EOL, isn't he, Justin?
Absolutely. Up to 12th position, the highest George Anzalo's been. Just taking his time, up 19. On board with Shane Coogan as he tries to dice it up, looking to try and get the run on Brian Beard, and Coogan has been up and down the running order.
Yeah, he really has, and it's been a tough race for Shane Coogan. He's been doing the best he possibly can with what he has, but right now, he just hasn't been able to make any forward progress in a while.
That's where the tough part of this racetrack and the traditions come into play, right? Hard to pass in the history. Today has been a bit different against the grain from that history, as we've alluded to. Ricky Harden, up 6 spots, has been trying to battle his way out of the teens most of this race. Yes,
he has, and he's had a solid enough race, but he just, again, it's very similar to some of these other drivers. They just haven't been able to get sustained momentum like, say, a Jacob Oster or a Matt Taylor carving their way through the field. It's been more of a 1 step forward, 2 step back type of day for Ricky Harden.
He was involved in a calamity, involved in this first race series history at this racetrack last year. And an eventful hard in the wall moment that day. Dean Mall, despite being hard on the wall earlier in this race, in 25th, and not the way Dean Mall may have wanted us to be. Your driver profile for today brought to you by MOZA Racing. Since that victory, he's picked up another one since that point. His best points finished 17th so far in the series with 9 top 10s, 5 top 5s. He's been able to put in some solid stats to back up that opening series victory.
Yeah, and of course, today hasn't gone the way that Dean Mall was hoping for, obviously, with that incident that he had earlier on, bringing out our one of the cautions that we've had here. But there's a lot of time left in this race, Justin, and we know that Mall can work the strategy here. And if an opportunity presents himself, I wouldn't put it past Mall coming up with a good finish out of nowhere here.
Especially since we're inside the pit window potentially in the next couple laps here. It can really open things up to strategy. His second win for reference came earlier this season at Worldwide Technology Raceway. And what was an intriguing race, to say the very least, that day. Trying to figure out as well a way around Matthew Short and Gabe Wood, who were battling for 23rd. But expecting pit stops. Indications coming over the radio. Some of the drivers who stayed out last caution, expecting them to peel in. Luis Gonzalez Nunez amongst them. so the window is open to try and get towards the end. A little tight for those who stayed out, keep in mind.
And these are our first green flag pit stops of the day here, Justin, and that makes it worth mentioning the tricky pit-in situation that you have here. You basically need to start braking in the middle of turn 4, so you have to be very careful to alert the drivers around you that you're coming down to pit lane. Otherwise, it's very easy to get run over, and we've seen incidents happen where a driver is coming to pit lane. Oh, Nunez makes a mess of getting into his stall there.
A big mistake for Nunez. That will cost him some time from the top 10. In the lane goes Nick de Groot, Will Gibson. Also on the same strategy. A couple others still yet to peel on in a part of that window. Cody Wenson, who's in 15th. Andrew Wood, who's in 6th.
And the question will be, where do all of these drivers who are making these pit stops come out in relation to the leader? Just how far back into the line of traffic will they be? Because we know they will go at least one lap down. The question is how many laps down, but look at some of these pit entries here. They are pushing to the max.
This will round out the drivers who stayed out during the caution flag. The others can stretch another 10 laps during this stint. Tyler Graff continuing to lead now by 0.6 of a second. The question is, how will this battle play out? Taylor trying to chip away, Andrew.
Absolutely here. This is going to be very intriguing. And the other thing I want to keep an eye on with all of these drivers who have hitting this around now, they're going to be coming out into sort of this really ideal scenario where all of the other drivers are sort of a little bit more spaced out. So it's going to make passing much easier, and they're going to be on 30-lap old tires compared to fresh tires. So the undercut could be on for some of these drivers who come through pit lane.
The final pit stop for a majority of the field are coming up in just a few moments. Your race leader from Twin Ring Motegi is Tyler Graff over Matt Taylor, Jacob Oster, Joe Hassard, and Trevor Malone. You're watching RaceSpot.tv and ESTV from Japan for the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200.
With the Buttkicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Buttkicker, the future is feeling.
Under caution after an incident down the back straightaway between Matthew Short and Andrew Wood to bring us under yellow with under 36 laps to go. You're watching the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200 from iRacing's virtual Twin Ring Motegi on RaceSpot.tv and ESTV. Andrew, a huge caution for the complexion of this race. Let's take a look.
And just Matthew Short gets a little bit high coming out of turn 2, hits the outside wall, and ricochets down into Andrew Wood. And Wood was coming with a head of steam because he was on those fresh tires, and unfortunately just a victim of circumstance there.
So how does this now play out? Well, several drivers had come into pit prior to the caution. Corner Luis Gonzalez Nunez will be amongst those having to take the wave around. Others look to try and get themselves gathered up in a lap down potentially. Matt Taylor is now your race leader over Tyler Graff after the race off the pit lane. Graff 0.8 of a second slower in the box. Another mistake for Graff in the pit lane.
He is not the only one there, Justin. Look who is going to the back of the field right now. The number 9 of Jacob Oster is going to the end of the longest line.
And the reason for it? Black flag. Coming in to a closed pit entry, couldn't avoid the pit commitment code in the wall in time at the time of the caution flag.
So that puts Jacob Oster all the way back to 22nd position. So that is just devastating for the number 9 car.
So the strategies for some have been flipped upside down. The scripts have been lit on fire for a couple of others. But what remains the same is the Taylor and Graff show. They have led a combined 65 laps out of 95 complete so far. Trevor Malone, though, is right there in the conversation. Joe Hassard and Joe Branch also up there for the upcoming restart.
Absolutely, and Malone has done a good job of staying patient and allowing the race to come to him, and he's benefited from this caution immensely. But the other story that we need to talk about here, Justin, is look at how dark it is on track right now, and that dark means that the track temperature is also going down. We're nearly at 100 degrees after starting at 120, so we're about to see a lot more side-by-side action as this track will have a lot more grip in it.
The air temperature has also decreased by 4 degrees since the drop of the green flag. Still at 85%. Your wave arounds under this caution: Nunez, Will Gibson, Musselman, Wenson, and McGrew. But an eventful day continues with 33 laps to potentially decide it. Taylor, Graff, Malone, Hassard, and Branch your top 5. From Twin Motegi, by Shawan, Dupree, Beard, Anzaldo, and Ron Hacker. Your biggest mover is Anzaldo. From an EOL to the top 10, George Anzaldo, who we usually see being very aggressive with the battling, keeping it very conservative today. It's worked out well for the 9 to get himself in the conversation with this line.
Absolutely. For Anzaldo, it's all been about picking the right battles, and so far so good for him today. The question is, as the race picks up here in these last 34 or so laps, will he also pick up that aggression, and will he start to move his way through this top 10? I think we're about to find out here, Justin.
27 cars on the lead lap, all of them to battle it out, eventually win this race. Malone in control of the field, iRacing pace car off. Green flag is up, back it away. Miscombobulation behind Trevor Malone. Joe Hassard and Joe Branch both want to go. Branch gets to the inside of Hassard.
Hassard trying to keep it around that outside lane, but Joe Branch, he knows he needs to go. He needs to get back up to Matt Taylor. He can't afford to lose more points to Matt Taylor in this championship. He's going for the inside of Trevor Malone.
Looking back to the outside is Tony Shawan. Hassard can't slam the door shut. Still side by side as a couple other drivers start to peek right behind them as well. Up in front of them as well of note, Tyler Graff having to defend Trevor Malone. Everyone's trying to get every position up for grabs. Taylor trying to break away up at the front.
Taylor might be trying to break away, but I don't think that he's going to do it right now. These tires are just too fresh. The cars are handling too well at this point to really get a breakaway going. But Tyler Graff, he's going to have to defend against Trevor Malone. He cannot afford to fall back further in this field if he wants to get back up to battle with Matt Taylor.
New fast slap set by Dean Mull. Check that new fast slap set in the heart of the pack as you've seen the purple lap times fluctuate several times over. One car is crashing. Cody Wenson, no caution, we stay green.
Wenzen does a good job to escape out of that, and fortunately we stay green here, and that's great because we have a cracker of a battle going on at the front here, and you can just see here, looks like it was one of the factory back drivers trying to get through the field, just a little bit of miscommunication there, and Wenzen gets the worst of that for sure.
That's its first start of the season coming to an end potentially there. What isn't ending, though, the battle for the top 3. Trevor Malone up top now. Underneath comes Joe Hassert, Joe Branch taking a peek to the outside. Now looking to battle with the 11.
And this is music to Tyler Graff's ears because finally he doesn't have to focus on what Trevor Malone's doing. He can focus forward on Matt Taylor, and he's drafting quickly up to the back of the number 8 car.
Side by side amongst them, though. Hassert shuffles his way up forward. Battle for the race lead potentially on. Matt Taylor has closed the gap. Now looking to battle it out with Tyler Graff.
Yeah, Graff got by Matt Taylor on the entrance to turn 3, and this is Taylor responding through turns 1 and 2, but it looks like Graff, that's a really good exit here. He's going to use the inside lane. Question is, will he be able to make the move happen once again? This is going to be back and forth, I think, for the next 20-odd laps.
Wraps the bottom, holds on to it. Taylor now picks up the draft. Teammates battle hard. Taylor with the hard cut. Side by side as well for third.
Hassert made the move on Trevor Malone for third place, but Malone is not having any of it. He's coming back on Joe Hassert. Hassert, meanwhile, hangs tough around the high side, and then the power side motorsports duo of Schowen and Branch are just sitting in the popcorn position right behind them.
No swap this time either for the race leaders. Taylor looking to set sail yet again. Back your top 5 looking to break away. Top 6, in fact. Going away from Brian Beard, nearly a second up the road.
And this is exactly what these drivers are hoping for. They've narrowed down this field to 6 drivers who really have a shot as long as we stay green. It's going to be very difficult for Beard and Inzaldo to bridge that gap at this point. It looks like... right now, though, Tyler Graff is back to the front, so that swap for the lead is still on.
Big run for Taylor, defensive line and an early arc for Tyler Graff to hold the bottom. Remember, Taylor's used the diamond line to strong success, though. Tires sliding for Graff.
Graff defending the inside line here. It's a little bit of a departure from what we've seen before, and I think Graff will have enough to make that happen, but we get a little bit of a spin here in the middle of the pack.
Up the track goes Dupree into the heart of the field. Caution flag is out with under 25 laps to go.
That was Dupree, and I think Oster got a piece of that as well. It was certainly one of the factory back drivers got a big piece of that. It all kicked off on the entrance to turn 3 here with Ron Hacker and Isaiah Dupree. Dupree just tried to come down where Hacker already was. They get together, and then the factory back driver, and Dean Mall also gets a piece of that.
Hugo Gallis coming in full steam into it. That puts us under yellow. About 12 or 13 laps ran in the stint, including the pace laps there. Do you take tires?
I think if you're in the top 10, you have to stay out here. I don't think that we've done enough laps to really force you to come down to pit lane. But if you're back in the pack, if you're, say, 15th on back, you should definitely be coming down and taking some fresh tires.
Does anybody come down? Answer, Dean Mull does, who was in the wreck. Jacob Ulster, who was involved in the wreck, yes. Gabe Wood coming in, yes. Most of the field, though, say no to the tires.
And it's a little bit surprising that some of the drivers in the back don't come down pit lane, like Ricky Harden, James Watson. But if you're, say, Nunez or DeGroot, I understand why you're staying out, because you're trying to get some of the track position you lost back here. So I can see definitely both sides of the strategy call, but I think that it's a good thing for Oster and Oster and a few of these other drivers to come down, take some service, and have these fresh tires, because they will have an advantage here towards the end of this race.
Dean Mull looks like having to take a lengthy damage repair, by the way. But Graff and Taylor were putting on a stellar battle for the race lead. The swap draft really coming into play here today.
And the tough thing for Taylor now is he's got a very hungry Joe Hassert right behind him. So this will bring in the drivers who are sort of battling a little bit for third and starting to fall off the lead battle of Graf and Taylor just a little bit. It brings them right back into this battle.
Of note, Jorgen Zotto, prior to the caution, moved up to 8th position. The boss man up 23 as well. And if there's a good start from the 6th car, if it can get around Beard, he might join the battle for the race lead.
Absolutely. There's no group of drivers who are more thrilled by that caution than the drivers in that sort of 7th through 12th position where they had this large breakaway before. Now that deficit is gone, but you can just see Wenzen had no idea that anyone was coming there, and it just hooked a straight right-hand turn there.
That was during that caution, non-caution prior, remember, 6 minutes ago.
And Wenzen did a good job getting out of that car nice and quickly to keep us under green. Unfortunately, we are under caution again, though, so it's all for naught, and we've reset the field just a little bit here, but I think it's going to be a good reset, and it's going to keep it entertaining at the front.
Drivers on fresh tires are 16th on back, by the way. So we'll see how this plays out. On the bright side for Ricky Harden fans, he has a chance to break out of the teens starting 11th this restart.
And this is a good opportunity, as I said, for a number of those drivers in that sort of 7th through 12th position. They really have an opportunity, if they play their cards right, to improve their position and get firmly in that top 10. But they have to make sure that they don't allow the top 6 to break away again, because if they do, all they're going to be doing is fighting for scraps.
So 20 laps to go when we get back underway. Tyler Graf, Matt Taylor, Joe Hassert, Trevor Malone, Joe Branch, your top 5. Followed by Tony Schellman, Brian Beard, Jorgen Zotto, Shane Coogan, and Dakota Domain. Down to 25 cars running. Dean Mull is back on track after 59 seconds of damage repair, after being involved in the last caution flag. Andrew, who's your pick?
That's really tough. I think that I'm going to go with Joe Hassert. He's been flirting with a win here for a long time in the Speedway Series. I think he's due for a breakthrough. I'm going with the car in third right now.
Big Joe Hassert has been in the conversation a couple times this season. See if Joe Hassert can break through. We'll see if Tyler Graf can make it back-to-back victories, or if the points leader Matt Taylor, once the storylines, can add to things here. Tyler Graf, interesting enough, Andrew, going the middle of the racetrack, not the wall potentially for the restart.
Yeah, sometimes you just need to change things up, change the sight lines of the driver behind you to get that little bit of a jump, and I think that's all that Tyler Graf's doing here.
To the inside wall we go for the green flag. Matt Taylor, not a good launch. Joe Hassert having to try and dive. Nearly got to the inside, and Taylor checked up though. Tony Schellman lost a lot of ground on the launch.
But he's gaining it back here quickly, and one of the things...
Battling continuing on the racetrack. Joe Branch now up inside the top 4. Here comes the snake.
And Tyler Graf has not been keeping one lane on the straightaways. He knows it's so important for him to try and break this draft now. He's got 6/10 on Joe Hassert right now. He's got to do everything he can at this point to break that draft. Meanwhile, look at Joe Branch defending from Trevor Malone.
Trevor Malone boxed in behind. Hits the apron, up the track. Here comes Beard to the inside.
That allowed Tony Schown by as well, so that was a disastrous corner there for Trevor Malone. The power slide drivers are now 4th and 5th in this battle here. The only driver without a teammate up at the front here is Joe Hassert.
Side by side, trying to swap back and forth. Hassert and Taylor behind them. Branch and Schown holding station. 16 to go. The gap is growing now. Hassert is losing ground. Taylor not backing down.
And you can see the teammates are starting to work together now, with Tyler Graff giving Matt Taylor just a little bit of a draft, and that was all he needed to get around Joe Hassert into turn 1 there.
This time Joe Hassert not electing to try and pass, trying to work together. And the shuffling calming down for now to 15 to go. Taylor trying to buckle on in to get back up to the 88.
And the tough thing for Taylor, Justin, is that Tyler Graff is just on the edge of breaking that draft. Taylor has to be so careful here that he cannot lose any more time. Otherwise, Tyler Graff is just going to set sail and be gone here.
Yeah, well, last time by picked up a couple 100s. That's it. Keeping even in terms of the interval this time around to 14 laps to go. Hassert losing ground now in the arrow wash.
By the way, Justin, keeping an eye on the fresh tire brigade, Jacob Oster back inside the top 10 now.
He's right now in the 10th position. See that in the backdrop. Jordan Soto trying not to lose 8th position. He wants to gain 7th, if anything, on Trevor Malone. And does. A race-high 7th for Jordan Soto.
But look at Oster. He made up one more position there. Got by Shane Coogan. Now in 9th. Oster. He's going 3 wide into 1.
Jacob Oster jumps up to 7th with that.
Oster knows that he's got to go right now. He's got so little time left, but he's got the fresher tires right now. This is his opportunity. Oh, and then Soto turns him.
And a crash in turns 3 and 4. Under caution, approaching 10 to go, Jacob Oster. Again on a speedway, involved in a big crash. This one coming late here at Twin Ring Motegi.
And I think it was just a mistimed move there from George Anzaldo. Oster was making a little bit of side-to-side move, but really Anzaldo needed to make a more decisive move to the inside there, and it was just 2 cars going in different directions once again here, and unfortunately Oster ends up on his roof, and much the worse for wear there.
That's been the way Oster's luck has been much of this season. But now this sets up what could be a wild finish. Graff, Taylor, Hassert, your top 3. Now how do you play this?
I mean, you have to stay out. There's no question on the strategy here. You have to stay out. You can't afford to come down pit lane. But really, it's all about track position now. Unfortunately for Tyler Graff, that gap that he had built up over 2nd and 3rd, it's gone now, and it brings Taylor and Hassert and Schown and Branch right back into the battle here, and this is exactly what Tyler Graff was hoping wouldn't happen.
See some of the damage for Trevor Malone involved in that incident, losing the front wing completely, the independent driver. Jim Herrick, Dean Moll coming down in, Samuel Ryman, Craig Forsyth as well.
And that's going to be near terminal damage for Trevor Malone. There's a lot to repair there, and I don't think that car is going to be able to get around this track.
Does get a win, though.
Yeah, but he does still have a significant amount of side pod damage, I think, Justin. So we'll have to see. Maybe iRacing was kind to him and gave him some repairs there, but it's going to be tough for Trevor Malone to make any more progress.
This battle for the race win could get interesting. Point of return based on the pace laps. About 4 laps to go tonight. That's going to be the key thing, too. Can Graff get a good restart? Again, he had a solid one to the inside. Pulled away by 7/10. They were not closing behind him.
Yeah, the problem, though, is for Graff is he's pulled that trick restart once. I don't think it'll work quite as effectively this time again. So he's got to find a different way to create that gap again. And if with Matt Taylor right behind him, I don't know that you can really pull one over the eyes on Matt Taylor again.
Still on top of the iRacing pace car. Once the other storylines discussing forward, Ricky Harden now up to 10th with the incident. George and Zoldo potentially could battle for a top 5 now in this event. And I will say this has been a thrower this year. Compared to last year, it is a big difference. The battles have been intense all day, though. It's been wild. This has been more akin to what we've seen from Retro, if anything, here at this racetrack, where there's been 5 wide in the past.
And this is a type of racing that Motegi can offer when you get the right combination of setup and track temperatures and conditions, and then having the fresh tires and some tire differentials throughout the race. It's been one of those races that just the circumstances has created a lot of action, and the drivers have really stepped up their game.
Are you giving yourself a pat on the back there?
It might have been a slight pat on the back, yes.
8 laps to decide it, coming in 9 laps to go here. Is your pick going to stand? Is the question too.
Yeah, I really like where Joe Hassard is in this field right now, particularly if the top 2 really battle on this restart. Hassard is just in the prime position to slide under both of them. We've seen a number of cases where the third car in line can get 2 cars in one simply because the other 2 are consumed with fighting each other. So I really think this is Hassard's time.
Find out if this indeed becomes a Joe Hassard time. 2 Joes are inside the top 5. Joe Branch in 5th, as talked about throughout this run. So 24 cars to decide it. How many will take the checker flag? Big question in about half a lap's time. When we get the green flag at least. And then 8 laps to decide this race. Now looks like Tyler Craft's going to try it again, Andrew.
Yeah, but you can see Matt Taylor, he's much closer to the back of Tyler Graff here, and I think if I were Taylor, I'd get even closer. I'd get right on sort of Tyler Graff's quarter panel to make sure he doesn't get as big a jump this time.
Tyler Graff all the way to the bottom, off and away. Green flag is out, back and away. Taylor tries to follow. A good launch for the top 4 overall. 5th on back, bottled up.
Yeah, Tyler Graff got the jump again. I didn't think Taylor would fall for it, but he did. And look at this, Tony Schown with a real run here coming down the back straightaway. He's going to try the outside lane through turns 3 and 4.
So does Joe Hassard. Flips off, tries to dive it underneath the corner. Battle for second could be on here. Taylor, though, slams the door shut. Tries to follow the draft of Graff. 7 to go.
Yeah, the gap is half a second from Graff to Taylor, and Taylor can't afford to battle with Joe Hassard too much here. He's got to find a way to get back to the back of Tyler Graff.
Go 4/10 back. Joe Hassard elects to stay at the wall. Down to 3/10 nearly down the back straightaway. Joe Hassard to the outside of Taylor, forces a lift. Nearly to the wall.
I was so close for Joe Hassard, and I like this strategy from Joe Hassard. He's not worrying about the draft so much as he's going for the shortest way down the straightaway. These straightaways are so wide here that with Tyler Graff weaving the way he is, it's a long way down these straightaways. So you're cutting out a lot of track by just going straight down the outside there like Schown and Hassard were doing.
The gap isn't going down. 5 laps to go. Now it's going down a bit of a lift down the front. Graff goes back to the middle of the racetrack. Taylor tries the diamond line. Taken away, though, by Hassard. Taylor forced a lift. There's the lift back from Hassard.
So close there through turn 2. There was near contact, but that's cost Taylor and Hassard some momentum. And here comes Tony Schown. Schown's gotten around Joe Hassard now.
So power slide up to P3. 4 laps to go. Point of no return in this race. The gap the closest it's been throughout this run now. Taylor within 3/10.
Hassert fighting back on the inside of Tony Schowen here, but Taylor, he's firmly inside the draft of Tyler Graf now. This is going to come down to the last few laps here. We have to pray for no cautions if you're Matt Taylor, because the only way that you're going to have a shot here is probably on the last lap of this race.
Well, 2/10 the difference between those two. Tony Schowen, Joe Hassert having a wrestling match for third. Schowen on the outside, Hassert inside. Tony Schowen tries to get the run while the top two go to the bottom.
This is such tense times here. Schowen is religiously sticking to that high side. Look at how close they get through 3 and 4, though.
No contact, though. Now it's under 2/10. 2 laps to go. Taylor is there, up for the lead.
Taylor is right on the back of Tyler Graf now. This is where the action is on the track. Taylor can do it here, but he's got to find a way to get alongside Graf. It looks like he's going to do it in the 3. He's going to try it on the outside.
Taylor can't get the arc, though. Now gets the draft. White flag is out. Final time around for Twin Ring Motegi. Taylor trying to rip it away from Graf. Graf trying to go back-to-back in the series.
Look at Taylor trying to get the diamond line, but he hits the apron there. That's disaster for Matt Taylor. It's going to cost him the race just by hitting that apron there.
Does he have a chance, though, in 3 and 4? The send by Graf. The draft for Taylor. Up the track. Not enough time. Tyler Graf goes back-to-back. He wins the MOZA Racing Twin Ring 200.
Wow, what a race there from Tyler Graf. He controlled the front of this field for the last 2 restarts, did an excellent job, and did just enough to keep Matt Taylor, your championship leader, behind. Tony Schowen did manage to just pit Joe Hassert for third.
What a finish here at Twin Ring Motegi, and boy did it deliver today. Tyler Graf delivers back-to-back victories for Graphics LC MadWorks. And when you're hot when it comes to momentum.
Tyler Graf burning the house down here. Well deserved, as you say, Justin. He did exactly what he needed to do on those restarts. Managed to pull out a gap on one of the toughest competitors in the Speedway Series in Matt Taylor and Joe Hassert, and these are some well-deserved celebratory donuts.
So the celebration is on at Twin Ring Motegi. What was a thriller here tonight, here in the Lionheart Speedway Series. His celebration slows down and picks back up. With that, let's take a glance towards the race results presented by simrace247.com. The difference between Graf and Taylor, 0.145 seconds. Tony Schowen, Joe Hassert, and Joe Branch, your top 5. Brian Beard and Georgian Soto inside the top 7. Shane Coogan, Dakota DeMay, Luis Gonzalez Nunez, your top 10. Behind them in 11th position, Gabe Wood, followed by Ricky Hart and AJ Musselman and Will Gibson. James Watson, after being involved in an incident early, covers for a 15th-place run. Nick DeGroot in 16th, fast lap for Trevor Malone. He finishes 17th for his efforts, however. Samuel Ryman 18th, Ron Hacker, Hugo Gallus, the top 20. Jim Herrick and Craig Forsyth, along with Dean Mull and Mike Grigney, round out the finishers. Jacob Ulster involved in the final caution, DNFs in 25th. Isaiah Dupree, Cody Wenson, Matthew Short, Andrew Wood, Crane Carter also do not finish tonight's action. Rounding out the entrants tonight, Gavin Sanders along with Matt Wagner, DNF'd early along with Mike Gibson, Jeff Hyson, and Vern Hawkins III did not take the green flag today from Japan. That's a look top to bottom at your running order. As that brings us into our HyperX post-race show, because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary Ultra Comfortable Outlanded gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. Let's dive straight into HyperX Victory Lane, where Tyler Graf goes back-to-back momentum going the way of the number 88 entering this evening. Tower Graf coming away with the victory once more. How does it feel to be a back-to-back winner now in Lionheart Racing Series competition?
I think I'm gonna enjoy this one a lot more. The first one was just kind of just getting the monkey off my back. I'm so pumped, so excited. Just right away, I just want to thank our new sponsor Nizumi. They're coming on board full time next year. My teammates, my buddies Creighton and Isaiah, they've been my sim racing buddies for like 6 or 7 years now. So I'm just happy to hopefully go celebrate this with them after the race.
Talk us through the final moments of this race. 8 laps to decide it, having to hold off Matt Taylor in the closing stages.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot because Matt's my teammate in this series. So I obviously I need to race him hard, but if he's next to me, you have to leave the space. So I just made sure that he had a space. I didn't get as good of a restart on that second restart as I think I needed. I think Hassert didn't pressure Matt as hard as he did the restart prior either. But just break the draft, and he tried it with 2 to go, or coming to the white, whatever lap that was, and I was just able to break it and pull away. But it was a great points night for Graphics LC. With me P1, Matt P2, and I believe Beard was top 5 as well. So we're climbing back up. We're still mathematically able to win the team championship, even though the team kind of formed at halfway. So I'm just excited.
Iowa Speedway up next. That's in a few weeks' time. 205 laps. Talk us through the track where corn surrounds the circuit.
I mean, as we all know, corn is always interesting. So I'm just excited to get out there. The IndyCar race was a tough one. I was involved in a pretty big wreck. I was honestly running a strategy that was pretty conservative, trying to save the fuel, save the tires, and kind of be there at the end. This car is going to probably be a little bit more simple. I expect some push off of the corner. It'll probably race somewhat similar to here. Once the track cooled off today, though, it handled like a dream. The setup had that perfect balance, just like last week, of kind of tricky, but you really had to wheel it at the same time, and it makes these W's all the more rewarding.
Congratulations on back-to-back victories in Speedway Series competition, Tower.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
That's Tower Graf, your race winner tonight from Twin Wing Motegi. Second spot going the way of Matt Taylor. Taylor, the pole sitter. Your points leader entering the evening, making it a team 1-2 for Graphics LC Madworks. Matt, strong team night. Talk us through the battle towards the end.
Yeah, that was tough. I got stuck wasting too much time battling Joe to really get a good run at him, I think. And just kind of, I made one little mistake going into one and slid a little too wide to quite get it all back. And probably could have thrown it up the inside there at the end, but I'll take a second place.
What about that chess match when it comes to the draft? How is it trying to sort out when to go and line up, how to close up that gap?
You just gotta kind of watch what everybody around you is doing. I wasn't fighting too much through most of the race and just kind of letting the tires come in. So really there at the end, then when you got to turn it up, you're kind of trying to balance that. And I think I was maybe the best driver on track doing that, but we just didn't quite get the consistent run needed to maybe get that separation that would have been nicer at the end.
Iowa up next. Your thoughts on that track?
Should be interesting. Should be high tire wear. Once again, which I really enjoy having to manage tires and play that chess match and that. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Congratulations on the podium, Matt.
Thank you.
Matt Taylor coming away with the second place finish here tonight. Tony Shalin, meanwhile, went from 16th to 3rd. Tony, talk us through your night. Tony, do you have a copy? Try that one more time. Tony Shalin, do you have a copy? I believe we may have lost Tony Shalin there. So I want to turn to you, Andrew. Your thoughts on tonight?
It's a sort of a tale of two different championship contenders here. One with Matt Taylor. He had such a great run going and finishes in that second place. Similarly, Joe Branch with the top 5, and then Matt Wagner with a disastrous VR failure. It's changed the entire complexion of this championship. But then what more can we say about Tyler Graff? 3 starts, 2 wins back to back here. It's the type of race where and the type of start to your season where you almost wish, if you're Tyler Graff, that you'd started the season right from the beginning, because he could very easily be in the championship discussion as well.
But the next race is at Iowa, and that's going to be intriguing in September. Your thoughts on that?
Oh, Iowa in this car is very, very difficult, but also it's a really fun track to drive this car on. We get the big short track wings of the old DW12 days, and so the speeds at Iowa are going to be insane, and there's going to be multi-groove action. It's going to be a treat.
It's going to be a treat again, September the 19th, 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time, 7:05 p.m. Pacific. Be sure to tune in then. But we'd like to take the time to thank presenting sponsors of the series, starting by MOZA Racing. MOZA Racing is revolutionizing sim racing, the development of industry-leading hardware and software products, like their R9 direct drive wheelbase and GS steering wheel. Featuring zero-delay wireless technology and made from high-end materials, MOZA Racing delivers the precision you need to reach victory lane. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud9 gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperx.com. You're passionate about sim racing, but it always feels a little flat compared to the feeling of driving a real car. Now you can actually feel what it's like to drive a race car. Buttkicker haptic hardware and software are easy to install, but you feel every bump in the track, slip of your tire, and engine redline. Tactile feedback is so accurate and realistic, you'll be driving faster and having more fun than ever before. Next Level Racing is an industry-leading cockpit and motion simulator manufacturer creating the most immersive experience possible for the global sim racing community. Take your racing to the next level and visit www.nextlevelracing.com. Gomez Sim Industries are makers of high-end esports equipment and controls. Precision built using nothing but the best materials available today. Passion and handmade craftsmanship drive each made-to-order build, creating a driving experience like no other. Visit GomezSimIndustries.com. It's not just those names, but so many more, all the partners that help make things work here at the Lionheart Racing Series. To learn more about them, visit LionheartRacingSeries.com. You can also find out more information on the competitions the Lionheart sanctioning body runs. But with that, it's time to say goodbye. For my broadcast partner, Andrew Gonzalo, for our producer, Hugo Weiss, we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's action from iRacing's virtual Twin Ring Motegi. Congratulations, your race winner, Tyler Grau, your victor from Japan.